Have you ever been to a restaurant and you find yourself talking to the waiter, giving them your order, and your whole party starts to give their order and they're not writing it down? Their hands are maybe at their side, and I don't know what you think of when that happens, but what I think is our order is not going to come out right. Could you please write it down? Could you please capture what we're ordering so you don't mess it up? And look at poor Craig here. Craig has clearly captured a whole lot of stuff. He's got notes for just about everything, but it doesn't look like he's got it very organized, does it? You could capture everything. Write it all down. Organize it till your heart is content. However, for things to really light up, you're going to have to give it an outlet. And as you might know by now, I keep 5 practices on my high performance pack shelf for just such an occasion. And today we're going to talk about COO. Capture, organize, and outlet. Might be as close to a superpower in your career and business as you might get to. So if you want superpowers in career and business, join me for this edition of Extra, episode number 5, COO, Capture, Organize, and Outlet. COO, Capture, Organize, and Outlet. And if you put all 3 together, then you can really light things up. Let's start first with capture. What do I mean by capture? I mean that there is so much information, so much going on for what it is we need to do. If you watch my What by When series and First Touch series and Better by Next and everything you've got to do in a day, how do you keep hold of it all? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to capture it. Capture is a lot like what it sounds like. It means capture it. Sometimes that is writing it down. Sometimes that might be typing it in. Sometimes that might be speaking it. Whatever it is though, you need to get it somewhere that you can recall it for later. Remember that waiter that I talked about who didn't take down the order? It didn't impress me. In fact, if anything, it worried me. It stressed me. It made me think, what are the odds that that's going to come back the exact way that we talked about? I'm no more impressed when people don't write things down in business meetings. Capture everything you committed to. Capture ideas, capture things to learn. You've got to trap them in because our brains can't hold it all. There's just too much. Here are some criteria I have found helpful when I'm trying to work through how to effectively capture. Whatever tool I'm using, one of the first things I'm looking for is, can it capture in real time? And in order to do that effectively, you have to ask yourself the question, what are the different situations I can anticipate finding myself in? Could you find yourself in a spot where you have to capture lots of notes? Well, then maybe a tiny little notepad that barely holds a little bit of information probably wouldn't be right for that situation. But if you found yourself needing to be portable and get around places, then something small could work really well. What if you find yourself driving? If you find yourself driving, can you write things down while driving? Probably not. Maybe you need to dictate into your smartwatch. Maybe you need to dictate into your smartphone. Whatever that is, you need to figure out what capture tool is going to make it possible for you to capture in real time. So if you're using a pad of paper, small or large, you're going to also need something to write with. So make sure that whatever it is you use to capture, if it's going to be on paper, you also have the immediacy of being able to capture it really quickly because you always have something to write with on hand. Or maybe use an electronic, like a tablet. Did you know that all you have to do is so much as touch it with the Smart Pencil, and what you're going to get is you're going to get a note right out of the gate. Didn't have to open up any apps, didn't have to enter a password. I can just start writing. Perhaps you have nothing but web meetings all day, and you're already on the very computer that you're having these web meetings on. Maybe you can just use that to do all of your capturing as you type down your notes throughout the day, and that's the only situation you have to manage. I love to use electronic stuff because it saves me a step later in organize. However, because I walk around in a sport coat many days, I could reach in and I could grab maybe my smartphone and I could capture that way. Except the problem that I found out is that in certain situations like a meeting or a conference, if I'm sitting there and I'm tapping away on my phone, guess what people think I'm doing? Texting. And if they think I'm texting, do they think that I'm being really diligent to capture my commitments? Or do they think that maybe I'm ignoring them? So that didn't work out so well. And so for that situation, I had to find a different tool and I moved to paper and pen. And in this case, I used this one. It has note cards in it, ready to go at any time with extras if I needed to flip them back, forth, and of course my handy dandy retro 4-color pen so I could write all the notes till my heart was content. And that would be the thing I would capture with when I didn't want people to think I was being rude on my smartphone for texting. So whatever the situation may be, there may be a different capture tool required. Perhaps you can use one for everything. Perhaps you need 1, 2, 3, or 4. Sometimes I have multiple. Match it to your situation. In addition to making sure whatever you use can capture something as quickly as possible in real time, the next thing that I like to think through is it ever present? That is, can I have it with me in all the different situations? So if I've got a big notebook and lots of paper in it, can I reasonably take that with me everywhere I go? Does it work when I'm in my office? Does it work when I'm in meetings? Does it work when I'm on the go? Does it work when I'm on the airplane? Whatever it is, can it stay present with me at all times? You never know when there's going to be some reason to have to capture something. In addition to in real time and making sure that whatever it is ever present, I like to make sure that it's expedient. Even if you have a notebook there, if you've got to flip through 20, 30 pages, hold on, let me find that right spot, and well, let me check the pen's working. Wait, where's that pen? Okay, got it. Yep. Not expedient. So whatever tool you audition to use for this, make sure you can do it fast. And at the end of the day, when people ask me, what's the absolute best tool I could use to capture? It's the one you'll actually use. Not just once, but that you'll use over and over and over again. That's absolutely the best capture tool. Whatever that is for you. It really could be old school pieces of paper, note cards, or Post-its. The thing is, does it meet these other criteria? Can you do it in real time? Is it ever present, and is it expedient? Now that I've given you enough information to become a pro at capture, let's turn our attention to organize. And you can capture until your heart's content. But if, like Craig at the beginning of the video, with all the Post-its everywhere, it's in total disarray, it won't be useful. We have criteria for when we're capturing, but we have different criteria when we want to organize. In capture, for example, we could have used certain paper products, maybe notepads and pens and things like that, and it would have been effective. And perhaps you're still using things like file folders and file cabinets and things along those lines, but that's much more for organize and storage, not organize and outlet. Most likely you're going to need something much more dynamic. It doesn't matter that it's in real time. What matters is how dynamic it is for any situation you may find yourself in. Most likely you're going to have to use something with technology. What's critical is that it allows you to shape and arrange and redo and list and cross out and make multiples. That's the kind of stuff we want to see when we're trying to organize. There are oodles of programs for organizing. Another component I found helpful for organize isn't that it be ever present. You can schedule certain times where you're going to organize stuff so you don't have to have something with you at every second of the day, as long as it's with you at the time you create to organize things. So I'm less concerned with it being ever present and much more concerned with it being integrated. When I'm trying to organize, does what it is I choose to organize with, does it integrate with all the other programs I want to use, all the other people that I want to use them with, and how well does it do that with my practices? I call that integrated. And in organize, I care less about how expedient it is because I'm probably scheduling myself to do the organizing. I care much more that it's effective. That is, does it produce what it is I meant for it to produce? And whether I organize or I capture, I still care about, will you actually use it? And so I'm going to put a check mark there for that one. Yes, you care about it in organize too. Whatever you pick to organize, make sure it's not just the latest and greatest. Look how cool this thing is. I got a top of the line computer. Make sure it's something you'll use sustainably over and over and over again. It needs to fit you. The best tool is the one you'll actually use. Now let's back up for a quick second and just spend another moment on effective. If we want what it is we're going to organize to be effective, we're probably going to have to wonder, what is it we're trying to outlet? And if we think about what we're trying to outlet, we can probably be even more effective at how we're going to organize. So let's turn our attention then to outlet. And if we're going to talk about outlet, no, I don't really mean the thing that you plug into a wall. I mean, how are you going to outlet whatever it is you captured that you need to do, and you've organized in such a way that it's going to now go out into the world and produce action. So when you go to capture, organize, and outlet, let's talk about the who's that are most likely to be the who in your outletting. The first and most obvious one is maybe you're the outlet. And if you're the outlet, then how do you do that? If you know you're going to be the one that's going to outlet whatever that commitment was, and after you organize it, then making sure that you calendar it as you organize it may be a great way to do it. Maybe you don't need to keep it somewhere in a separate place. You just need to place it on your calendar because you're the outlet. And if it shows up in your calendar, then you know you'll do it. And now you've outlet it. What if it's not you? What if it's another person? Maybe that other person is your boss. Maybe it's someone that reports to you. Maybe it's a colleague. No matter who it is, it's not as easy as you just putting it in your calendar because you're going to need to coordinate with someone else. And if that's the case, the way that I like to organize for another person is a little bit different. Since I can't just pop it into my calendar, I create what I call punch lists. A punch list is an inventory of all the things I've captured and organized that I know in order to outlet, I'm going to have to work with a certain person. I work with lots of different people, so I actually keep a different punch list for each person. Yep, it's got their name on it, it's got a title, and then that punch list sits as a rolling list of agenda items, so the next time that I'm going to meet with somebody, I can talk about that punch list with them. Sometimes I share it with them. Sometimes they can see it. Other times I don't. It depends on what I'm working on. I have somebody who works with me closely, and I actually share that punch list with that person, and that person can actually get started on those different items and starts to outlet it without me. And I only come into the equation afterwards to make sure that we got to everything or to answer any questions. It could be that it's not another individual. Maybe what it is the team. If you're having to outlet with a whole team, then you can't just put it on a single punch list unless it's the same team that meets over and over again, and that could work. What I like to do there is I call it channel it. So many tools, many technology programs and software programs out there create threaded conversations for teams to work on things. There are programs that let you move the different commitments around like tiles, create Kanban boards, project boards, or maybe they just create a threaded communication system where you can actually create all the different ways you're going to outlet the different things you capture and organize collaboratively with others. Not everything you capture and you organize is going to have an immediate outlet. There's some things that you know intuitively you need to capture it. You know you need to organize it for later, but you don't know when that later is going to be. You just know it's not now. So if you're not sure when you're going to outlet it or with who yet, then keep a list for that. I actually do. I have a catch-all that actually inventories everything it is that I intend to one day do, but I don't have a who or a when quite yet. And in fact, I create separate notes for that one. In some of the systems I use to organize, I keep lots of notes, thousands of them in fact, and I title them and I tag them so that later when I do find that I want to outlet it, it's really easy for me to look up. I've organized it for just such a purpose, and I call that my catch-all. So as you can see, how it is you plan to outlet what it is you've captured and organized is every bit as important to how you're going to organize. And so in order to organize effectively, I find I like to think about what are the different ways I'm going to outlet something. Capture, organize, and outlet. Now that you have a sense of all three of these, let's talk about some things that I've learned that might be helpful for you as you go to try this on. The first one I'll share with you is that order matters. These are in a sequence for a reason. I used to make this mistake all the time. It's how I know to share it with you. For example, I would capture and then I'd get distracted and I'd start to organize things. For example, as I'm writing down all the different things that I just captured, I'd start arranging them. I'd start moving them around. I'd start prioritizing them. And then I'd get so distracted, whether I was in a meeting or listening to a live lecture, that I forgot to capture certain things. And I either had to stop people and make them repeat themselves or just hope that someone would say it again, but I knew that I had missed stuff that I shouldn't have missed. And that's because I got distracted organizing before I fully captured. So if you're in capture mode and discreetly working on making sure that you've got everything captured, don't get distracted and start meandering and organize. You can always do the organizing later. Another one that I learned is double up or triple up. You can do capture by itself and just focus on capturing. And then you can set aside time in your calendar to organize things, and then you can have different times in your calendar to outlet it. That will certainly be how some of these will go. But there are times where you can actually double up on some of these, and you can actually get 2 done at the same time, or sometimes almost as close to 3 done at the same time. I call those double ups and triple ups. To give you an example of those, let's use capture and organize as a good example again. How might I be able to do both of those at the same time? Remember I told you that I will sometimes keep lists with different people's names on it, like a punch list by name? Well, if I'm listening to something and I realize, oh, I'm going to outlet that with this person, then I can open up a note right there, and the very thing I capture in is the one that's labeled with their name. I've already organized it. It's already sitting ready to go to the outlet. The next time I meet with them, I'm going to pull it up. So I just took care of both of those, capture and organize, at the exact same time. Any place you can do that, all the better. But you can't always do that, so don't try to make it work in every situation. Is there a way I may be able to get a triple up where all 3 of these can be worked through? How might I be able to do a triple up? Well, I think in order to do that one effectively, let's start with how would we outlet it where we can potentially make it capture, organize, and outlet. As I share examples, keep in mind these are ones I found effective for me. They may or may not be appropriate for you. You try them on for yourself, and you determine whether or not they could be useful. When I look at outletting is almost always a person at a certain time, meaning I'm almost always either going to do it myself, so I need to put something in my calendar, or I'm going to work with somebody else on it to outlet something that needs to get done, and I need to put it in the calendar to work with them. Either way, the calendar becomes a critical component. To kick us off, let me share some examples from my own calendar. One of the things you may notice in looking at this is that I even have a certain way that I name my appointments. And in this case, you'll see I do all capital letters to tell me whether it's going to be a call, whether it's a web meeting, or it's in person, so that I know how to get ready for it. After that, you'll see that there's a name. In this case, it's called a launch pad. I name the kind of meeting so that not only can I tell what kind of meeting it's going to be, but the other person, if there's somebody else involved, can also tell what to expect. In this case, it's called Launchpad. Launchpad usually means we're launching a day together. So if it's somebody I meet with regularly, then that meeting is to get us set up to launch the day right. It could be that it's for project launches, in which case Launchpad is around, let's launch a project. Just naming meetings a certain way means that when I go to capture it in the calendar, I'm also organizing it by the way I title it, and I'm creating the outlet because it appears at a certain day and a certain time already. Another example of just capturing and organizing and outletting in a calendar appointment all at the same time is this one. So for example, I have this one as a web meeting, and you can see it's a certain type, PAM meeting. That's a project advancement meeting. It's a different type of meeting. It's not one where we go through our punch list of the different things. It's one where we actually advance a certain project together. So it tells everybody who's going to attend, including me, that they need to be ready for a different type of meeting, in this case, to advance a project. It also tells me who's going to be coming, the operations team. Another example is what I call a punch list meeting. And I love punch list meetings because punch list meetings mean I have a punch list already being kept in a note by person usually, so that as soon as I see this one with Phyllis, I can just open up my note that has all the punch list items I had been capturing, and I've been capturing right to that note. So I was capturing and organizing at the same time. Adding this meeting to my calendar and having, say, a weekly repeat with Phyllis means that I know that I'm going to have, as soon as I capture into that punch list organized, I'm going to also have an outlet every week. I don't have to worry about, oh my goodness, how do I keep that in my brain right now and have it occupy my mind? Instead, I can just capture it. It's already organized in the punch list and it's already got an outlet. Every week, just hit the repeat button. Really productive for people you coordinate with regularly. Another example that I use in my calendar is this one, like a design meeting. This one's by web. A design meeting is a little bit different than the other meetings in that it's a space to design ideas and thinking. When people see this one and they're on my teams or I see it, I know I need to clear my mind. It means I don't want to be hurried with the busyness of the day. It means it's not going to be a punch list where we just rattle off a bunch of items and try to take care of them. And it means we're not going to try to advance a project. It means we're going to design something new. I need people to be creative. I need to be creative. And it's a different space for us to think through. And the last one I'll share from my calendar are the appointments I actually keep with myself. And so this is the one where you can see it's called My To-Dos because I've actually captured into a list that's already my to-dos that I outlet right here in this appointment. And this appointment can repeat as many times as works for you if you decide to do something like this. Now I do want to call your attention to a particular letter up here. See that A in brackets? That's another practice that I find helpful because when I see that title, and if I expand that one out, you can see that the little A and the agenda items are right down below in the description. But you can't see these, so that's why I tell myself with that A up above. That's not just for my to-dos. I'll do that with any meeting where I want to indicate that there's more information in the description below that'll be useful for the meeting. In any event, all of these end up being as close as I figured out how to get to capture, organize, and outlet at the same time. Capture, organize, and outlet. One of the 5 practices in my 5-part series on high performance. It may be the one that makes all the other ones possible for you. So try it out, and when you do, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. If you like what you see here and you want to be alerted to more videos like it, feel free to subscribe or like and share. Be sure to check out the other ones in the series, and until next time, set NEXTpectations. Oh, Mitch, love the enthusiasm, really do, but how are you going to possibly capture everything at the meeting with just a cape? Very good. Well played. All right, as you were.